welcome to a video. Let's talk about Chaturanga. So Chaturanga is part of Vinyasa yoga, and for the longest time I hated Vinyasa yoga because Chaturanga was part of it. And I've been doing yoga for a really long time, but mostly for stress relief, not to be a pretzel on Instagram. So I couldn't do Chaturanga till probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And I learned to do it with blocks. So Chaturanga looks like this. So I usually enter from a plank, and it's just this like weird half plank. So it's not quite forearm plank. It's like this bent elbows plank. So there's a few ways that you can do Chaturanga if you can't use your own body yet. Okay, so first thing is you can just substitute regular plank. That is totally acceptable. You can still dip back into your downward facing dog, float into your up dog, and just kind of skip that step. That is always acceptable. You can also substitute forearm plank. That's totally acceptable. And then you're just gonna wanna pick your arms back up for downward facing dog if possible. You can also do it on your knees. So placing your palms, fingertips facing pointed, fingertips spread wide, fingers pointed forward. Just get on your knees, tabletop if you will. And you're gonna really open your chest. So just act like you're pulling your shoulders down and back. It's a movement that's really subtle. You won't be able to see it, but you will be able to feel it. So you're just moving your shoulders down and back. Like almost like you're just at the action of pulling your hands together, only you're not, because your hands are gonna be under your shoulders. So you're just gonna dip your chest down. See how you're keeping your elbows close to the body? And you will feel this. This is actually like still quite challenging, maybe because I'm not super strong. So you can do your Chaturanga on your knees. And then from here, you can just kind of push into your downward facing dog, coming into your upward facing dog. So that's all well and good, but I personally find that learning through muscle memory is really helpful. So if you have 2 yoga blocks, you want to put them on the tallest setting, and you're aiming to put them literally underneath the front of your shoulders. So adjust your body, just get on your knees, just kind of adjust, find just like your arms hang out. This also works really well if you happen to be missing an arm. So it's actually kind of, or your arm is broken or whatever, as long as your doctor's cleared you to do it. Just make yourself an arm out of a block. So coming onto your blocks, if you have arms, which a lot of my friends do, you're gonna put your hands under your shoulders. We'll just outside the block. So the blocks are literally directly under your shoulders and your hands are very close to the block. Your thumbs are gonna be touching the sides of the block. And you're just gonna come into plank. So remember, make the action of taking your pelvis away from the mat. Keep your head in line with your spine. And that is a great way to practice your Chaturanga. And just stay here. Stay here for like a minute. Listen to a podcast. And just really, and you can take breaks. Take your knees down. Again, come back into your Chaturanga. This is a really great way to build core strength, which when you have good core strength, it helps your posture, which helps you have less headaches. It is not a cure, but it definitely does reduce for some people. So now, what if that's just really, really, really hard? Or just, you need some variation, you need to break it up. So take your blocks on the second highest setting, and you're gonna put them under your hip bones. So just really make sure that you're stable. It might take you a couple minutes to figure out your stable place. And you can even like take your feet up and be like, wee, you're flying. You don't have to do a lot with this. So this should balance you. And if it feels really uncomfortable, you can actually get wider blocks. So if you have like bigger bones or you just don't feel secure on skinny little blocks like this, they make blocks in a variety of sizes. I just got the cheapest ones I could find. So they're not that expensive. I highly recommend you invest. So yeah, so these are gonna be over your hips. And if you're doing this with friends, like everybody's gonna need to adjust the blocks for their body. And then just find your shoulders. Okay. Place your hands, again with your thumbs close to that block. And there you go, you're in a modified version of Chaturanga. And if you want, just try to pull your pelvis away from the mat. So it's a really subtle movement, you can't see it. Oh, I need to relax and come back down. But then really just try to keep your spine straight. And just enjoy keeping your toes tucked. You're on your toes, by the way, I don't think I said that. And try to lift, come back down. And the great thing about this is that you can easily come up for Chaturanga and then kind of slowly come back down. And you can even inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. So that's one of my faves. I highly recommend. It's a good one. But what if you don't have blocks? What if you're not a block person? And what if you just have 2 blocks? So you can take your strap and you can make your strap wide enough. I've already measured, but make your strap wide enough so that when you put it in the middle of your upper arms, your arms can't escape. And then you're gonna put your fingers wide, fingertips pointed forward. You're gonna come and put yourself into plank if possible, or on your knees. Let's just try on our knees. Let's not go too big too fast. So on your knees, you can just kind of come down into your Chaturanga. And you can add your blocks again. And so say you don't want to get multiple blocks. I have them on their lowest settings in stacks of 2. So here I am, my Chaturanga. I need to bring my blocks down. So I will say that for women, I personally find, or anybody with boobs, I should say anybody with boobs, I find that personally being for a long time in the strap can be kind of uncomfortable. So you might want to loosen it, you might want to get a thicker strap. You can even use a scarf or something, so just bear in mind it's not uncommon if this feels weird. But that is a way to do your Chaturanga. And once you've practiced this, like really just try to practice it 3 times a week or something. You can make a goal of it. I'll listen to a song and just play with my blocks. And then once you've got yourself in Chaturanga, you can start yourself in plank. Fingertips pointed wide, fingers spread wide, facing forward. Your pelvis is away from the mat. You're gonna come down to Chaturanga, flip your feet, come to upward facing dog, flip it again, glide into your downward facing dog. The crown of your head is towards the mat. And inhale back to plank. And you can do multiple rounds of this. And I'm just going to demonstrate really quickly without speaking. So I'm going to just do a little set of these. And you can just keep going. And when you get really graceful, I'm not very graceful, and if you have the right length body, the right length arms, you can do really nice little move like water motions with your spine. And I am sweating because I turned the fan off so you could hear me, but I look gross now. So I'm gonna go through a really quick little set of this vinyasa. So this is usually called a vinyasa in Western vinyasa yoga type classes. So I'm gonna go through a set of these without speaking, so that I'm just gonna focus on my movements. So you can kind of follow along. Start in plank. I'm gonna go to Chaturanga. I'm gonna go to up dog, and I'm gonna go to downward facing dog. So I'm gonna do these 4 postures. Be sure to focus on your breath. So inhaling back to plank. Inhale to downward facing dog. Inhale to plank. And then you can start kind of getting creative in your vinyasa, walking your downward dog, which we'll go over downward dog in another tutorial. I hope that you found this useful. And if you happen to have, I didn't even think of this, but I'm gonna add it. If you have a really bad leg, like say you have like an ankle that just either doesn't exist, like maybe you're an amputee, or it's just really sore, you can just kind of do Chaturanga on blocks only. So say like this is my bad leg, my left leg, right? So you can come down into your Chaturanga, push yourself up, upward facing dog, come back down, and either you can take yourself into a tabletop instead, or you can come to upward facing dog. Maybe you're gonna use the blocks to support your head. And again, you can glide forward. Back to your blocks. Maybe a little up dog to relieve some tension. You're gonna come down to Chaturanga, pushing into your downward facing dog, using your head to support yourself in the blocks. Again, you can also use tabletop instead. So I'm gonna do it first with tabletop. Okay, so say you can come to plank, Chaturanga, up dog, tabletop. Again, Chaturanga, up dog, downward facing dog, and yeah. So I hope that this is useful. Blocks are great. I love blocks. I hope that you love blocks too. Thanks for coming to my tutorial. If there's anything you want to see next time, let me know in the comments. And you'll be like, oh my god, you were so sweaty.